Hi, everybody out there in Zoom land. I apologize for starting a couple of minutes late. We have had some minor technical difficulties and we have been waiting for a couple of our candidates to join us. But thank you all for being with us. We currently have 6 out of our 8 panelists and are hoping to see the others very shortly. Sandy, I'm going to share my screen, and as soon as I do, you can go ahead and start the program, okay? At 12:04. Okay, ready, set, go.
Hello, everybody. I am Sandy Vidal, and I just want to welcome all the attendees and all of the elected officials and candidates for office. We'd like the elected officials to let us know you're here by just signaling that in the chat. So if you could please do that, that would be fantastic. We're going to start, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll ask you to join me in that now. It looks like Michaela is here, but in the wrong room.
Oh, Michaela, I can get her logged in. Hold on.
So while she's logging in, we'll go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Apologies.
Has anyone heard from Amrita?
Not yet.
The next thing I just wanted to let everybody know is that all of the audience lines are muted, and so just know that you won't be able to speak out loud for any time except for potentially the Q&A. If you do have questions, the chat is open, and so we'll ask you to just ask the question. It'll come to the panel, and that way we will be able to have your question answered, hopefully at the end of our presentation. And just know that this webinar is being recorded. Not only is the webinar itself being recorded, but the chat to the panelists is recorded as well. And so you just want to be careful about what you say in the chat. As an introduction to today's program, although national races and marquee candidates get energy and attention surrounding elections, our local races are the ones that often affect us most directly. It can be difficult to keep up with these races, and we hope this forum will help you to get to know the judicial candidates for the Ninth Circuit Court, encompassing Orange and Osceola County, sorry, and with over 1.3 million residents. It is one of the largest circuit courts in Florida, and as a court of general jurisdiction, both county and circuit level cases are heard in the circuit. Today's moderator is currently on the Ninth Circuit, and it is Judge Bob LeBlanc. Judge Bob LeBlanc was born in Quebec, Canada. He received his bachelor's degree from Bradford College in 1980 and his JD from the University of Miami Law School. Go Canes. He was admitted to the bar in 1989 and worked as a criminal defense lawyer for 17 years before he was elected to the circuit court in 2006. He won his latest term in an uncontested primary in 2018, and his term runs for 6 years. He's a member of numerous professional societies and has been awarded numerous honors, including Outstanding Jurist of the Year by 2 distinct professional groups, the Chairman of Justice and the William Hovler Judicial Professionalism Award. LeBlanc also participates as a volunteer in many civic organizations, including our league, and he has distinguished himself as a panel moderator and question MC at Hot Topics. We are very grateful. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Bob, you're ready to go.
We don't have any announcements from the league to go forward on.
I am
The
going to
Zoom
say,
was the announcement.
Okay.
We'll do the forward announcements at the end. Thanks.
All right. So do we have all 8 candidates here, or are we still missing Emery to sing?
we are missing Amrita Singh, but she,
Amrita texted that she's in the room.
okay, I'll get her in. Just
She's
give
on
me
the
a
chat.
Okay,
She's
I
on
see
the
there.
chat.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for participating. Judicial races are sometimes not given much publicity, so we're hoping that this provides an opportunity for the public to access the League of Women Voters of Orange County's video of this. We're going to start by asking all 8 of you, starting with Group 1, Rhiannon Arnold, take 2 minutes, introduce yourself to your audience, and tell us something about you.
I apologize. Thank you, Judge LeBlanc. I am Rhiannon Arnold, candidate for Circuit Court Judge Group 1. I am a native Floridian. I graduated from FSU College of Law in 2004. I've been a Central Florida resident since I graduated from law school. I started with the Office of the Public Defender under Bob Wesley as soon as I left law school. There, I was a practicing attorney as an assistant public defender. I started in the misdemeanor division, then was moved as an assistant public defender to the juvenile division. I then was moved to Osceola County, where I practiced in the juvenile courtroom. Then I was moved to the felony courtroom. I was then moved back to Orange County. I was with Bob's office for a little over 2 years. I left Bob's office after practicing in Orange County in the felony division and started my own practice, the Arnold Law Group, practicing in criminal defense at the state and federal level. I was admitted to the Middle District of Florida, the federal bar, in 2006, where I practiced federal criminal defense as well. I started the Arnold Law Group in 2006, where I practiced exclusively criminal defense on the state and federal level. I have owned the Arnold Law Group with my husband since 2009. I had practiced only criminal defense until 2014 when I got pregnant with my first daughter, and then I began practicing civil trial litigation. I have approximately over 50 jury trials underneath my belt, 20 bench trials, and I have practiced exclusively in the Central Florida area throughout my practice. I have 2 daughters, Madeline and Mason, my husband, Walter, and I look forward to being your next circuit court judge. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Michaela Nix, have we got a couple of minutes for you to introduce yourself?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the Women League of Voters, and thank you, Judge Bob LeBlanc, for having us here. Hi, my name is Michaela Nix, and I am running in the 9th Judicial Circuit for Group 1. I'm a native Floridian. My family has been here since 1887 in the Gainesville and Central Florida community. I am currently a wife, a mother of a toddler. He is 2.5, going on 3. His name is Dylan. Most importantly, I have been in the community for over 20 years. I attended the University of Central Florida, go Knights. I attended the Florida A&M College Law School, go Rattlers. And since that, I have a solo practice primarily focusing in the family law arena. The family law arena, though, is broad, and so I have been able to touch every division in the circuit court, from domestic violence to dependency to criminal, where I have had jury trials in the criminal division. I've had over 60 bench trials. I'm also a mediator, and so I've been in a role where I've advocated for clients, but I've also been in an impartial role. After being admitted to the Florida bar, I was admitted to the United States Tax Court, and where I practice also in the area of appellate. I've done a couple of appellate briefs in the family law area that have been successful. I'm most proud of my community service, and I'm very active in the community, whether that's speaking at the Orlando Juvenile Justice Detention Center or being appointed in 2016 to the Orange County Charter Review Commission, where I was the chair of the Constitutional Revisions Committee. Service is something that I'm very proud of that I have done in the Orlando area, but more importantly, I'm qualified. I think diversity and adding some diversity to our 66 judges that are in the Ninth Circuit, one of the largest circuit, is definitely an asset. And I can't wait to meet voters and finish this legal interview today. And so I'm going to just give it over to you, Judge Bob LeBlanc, today. I'm just very excited to be here and look forward to this, as this is an important position that they take.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Judge Alan Apt, you are in Group 21 with Christy Collins. Tell us in a couple of minutes about yourself.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for inviting me to participate in this webinar. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Circuit Judge Alan Apt. I graduated from the University of Miami with a chemistry degree. I graduated Nova Law School for my law degree. I am seeking re-election. I am not a political appointee. I was first elected in 2002. I was re-elected again in 2008 and 2014. This forum is an incredible opportunity to provide the members and our guests here with the seriousness and importance for re-electing and electing judges. Judges are the only constitutional officers that citizens directly interact with while performing their duties. I am a lifelong Floridian. For over 100 years, my family has been part of the state of Florida. Blue-collar family roots has taught me that an education, hard work, learning something new every day, giving back to the community, respect and fairness are the most important things that one has. My experience inside the courtroom as a lawyer and as a judge, along with my experience outside of the courtroom in the community, makes me the most qualified person to serve as a circuit judge. As a practicing lawyer, I first chaired over 100 jury trials and over 100 non-jury trials. While as a judge, I have presided over 100 jury trials, hundreds of non-jury trials, and thousands of evidentiary hearings. In the community, I have been in the community doing altruistic community service for 30 years. For a few, Boys and Girls Club in Orange and Osceola counties, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Orange and Osceola counties, and Give Kids a World, among the three of the things I've done over my time here in Central Florida. I will continue to bring honesty and experience every single day to the courthouse. These are the qualities that our community wants and needs in their circuit judge. Please vote for me on Tuesday, August 18th. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And Christy Collins, tell us something about your experience and about yourself that you want your audience to know.
Thank you, Judge LeBlanc. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christy Collins. I am running for Circuit Judge, Group 21. I'm going to start mine a little differently. I am a practicing attorney here. I've been practicing for a little bit over 8.5 years. I was also a hearing officer, hearing traffic cases, red light, traffic camera infractions, any kind of speeding or non-moving violations. I was also a teacher here in Orange County for about 12 years and 2 years in Volusia County. I am also a licensed minister at a local church in the area. And a lot of my community service involves that. I also volunteer. I have volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm very active with the Jones High School Choir and with Evans High School. I have volunteered at the Domestic Women's Abuse Shelter and just some of the homeless shelters here locally. A little bit about me. I was definitely from a blue-collar background. My mother and father did not have high school educations, but I let that push me to definitely go to college and do something different for my family in the future. So I filled out my college applications and I got some money, but I didn't get enough to pay for college. So I borrowed an old green suitcase from my aunt. I bought a Greyhound bus ticket and I went to college by myself with no scholarship, determined to get one. I found director of the Department of Music. I asked her, could I audition? And I sang a song for her and I played the piano and I got my scholarship that day. Just faith in God, basically. I also registered myself for class and I eventually walked down the street and got a job at the local Burger King I saw as the Greyhound pulled up in the station. So that's who I am. That's who I've been. Definitely one to do what needs to be done for the people. I am from the community. I'm a native Floridian, and I know what it means to live on different sides of the track. I have been in the community. I've lived in probably all different parts of the community, so I feel like I have an affinity with everyone. I definitely can relate to a whole bunch of different types of people.
All right, and we'll have a chance. We'll have a chance to hear more from you when we get to the questions. Thank you for that introduction. Judge Kranick, Group 34 with Amrita Singh. We'll start with Judge Kranick. Tell us about yourself for a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Judge LeBlanc. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for giving me and all the candidates an opportunity to speak with all of you. My name is Judge Mike Kranick. I'm currently a circuit court judge here in the 9th Judicial Circuit, Group 34. I'm a judge, I'm a coach, and I'm an educator. I'm a third-generation Floridian, and I'm currently serving in the Unified Family Division in Osceola County. I have thousands of domestic violence, divorce, and paternity cases on my docket. In less than a year on the bench, I have presided over 600 domestic violence hearings, over 41 trials, and hundreds upon hundreds of other hearings that have taken place. Since COVID has severely impacted our court system, I have still been working since the Florida Supreme Court's first order addressing the emergency procedures dealing with the COVID pandemic. I've had over 4 trials, 140 hearings, and over 135 domestic violence hearings. My wife and I are both servants to the community. She was raised in Osceola County and has been a school teacher for over 15 years. We've got 2 boys under the age of 5, John and Mark. I was appointed to the bench in July of last year, and I've been serving as a unified family judge since that time. Prior to my appointment, I graduated from Florida State University with degrees in finance and real estate, and then I attended law school here in Orlando at Barry University. I've called Orlando and Central Florida my home for over 15 years. During law school, I was part of their mock trial program, and that led to my heart to serve. I've been acting as a coach and an educator with that program since 2008. Prior to becoming a judge, I acted as an attorney all throughout Central Florida in complex business litigation and construction litigation cases. I believe that my heart for service, my background in hard work, being prepared, and acting as an educator and a teacher makes me the perfect candidate for Group 34 and for me to retain my seat as a judge. Please vote to keep Judge Kranick this August 18th. Thank you for the time.
Okay, and we have the opponent in Group 34, Amrita Singh. Welcome, and tell us something about yourself this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you. First off, I'd like to thank you, Judge LeBlanc, for your time, and as well as the League of Women Voters for your time and consideration today. I currently serve the state of Florida as Deputy Director for the Real Estate Licensing Agency, DBPR's Division of Real Estate, where we handle administrative law matters for the over 400,000 real estate licensees in the state. Prior to this, I worked for Greenspoon Martyr, a national law firm where I practiced real estate litigation. Before that, I worked for a contract management company where I focused primarily on aerospace and defense contracts. And prior to that, I had my own solo practice where I focused primarily on real estate transactions. So I have a variety of experience in many different capacities in my near decade of practicing law. On a personal note, I'm a first-generation American, and I've called Central Florida home since I was 2 years old. I was born in an Army hospital as my dad served in the U.S. Army, and my parents came to Orlando soon after that to start their family. I'm also no stranger to Osceola County, and I've seen it blossom since the 1980s to today. I've stayed local throughout my education, attending the University of Central Florida, where I obtained my bachelor's in political science and a minor in philosophy. And I went on to attend Florida A&M University College of Law. I currently live just east of downtown Orlando, and I'm an active member of my community. I'm sure everyone here today that's participating in this forum is a hard worker, and I have no doubt, but it's not enough to say you'll be a hard worker on the bench. As a Central Floridian all of my life, I know this community, where it's been and where it's headed. And I think that it's important that judges are elected who are representatives of our community, not ones who just moved here to satisfy a residential requirement. I'm someone who brings diversity, personally and professionally, to the bench, and I'm someone from the community as a local choice instead of one chosen by Tallahassee. I look forward to utilizing my private and public sector experience, community involvement, as well as life experience to become the first elected woman of Indian American heritage as Circuit Court Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Lastly, we have Group 39, Mr. Falcone and Mr. Van Valkenburg. We'll start with Vince. Please tell us something about yourself for a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much, Judge LeBlanc. Thank you to the League for the opportunity. My name is Vincent Falcone. I've been married to my wife, Carrie, for almost 15 years. We've got a 10-year-old son, Dominic, And unlike most of your other candidates, I am not a native Floridian. My wife and I ended up here suddenly and by chance after Hurricane Katrina. We evacuated to Orlando. We were engaged to be married at the time. Had a wedding planned in New Orleans, and we canceled that. Had a quick ceremony in Kissimmee with whoever was here evacuated with us. And we decided that Central Florida was a place that we wanted to make our home. So we moved to New York for a few years. I finished law school at Columbia Law School. And we moved back down here, and I worked for a large firm, Ackerman, for a few years. Since then, I've been working at King Blackwell Zender in Wormouth. I'm a partner here. My main practice area is commercial litigation. I also represent some of the lawyers and law firms in town in legal malpractice cases. I've done some voting rights litigation. One of the things that I'm most proud of is that I was part of the team that represented the statewide league and Common Cause in the litigation challenging the 2012 redistricting plan. I was on the trial team in both the congressional case and the state Senate case. I was one of the main drafters of our Supreme Court briefs. And I was also involved in the offshoot federal litigation. I'm sure many of you know about the saga, but it involved a number of cases. That's something I'm very proud of. I've been a member of the league for at least 5 years. In terms of my credentials, I've been heavily involved in bar organizations. I'm president-elect of the local chapter of the Federal Bar Association. I've been involved in the OCBA. I've been involved in with legal aid in their guardian ad litem program for at least the last 8 years. I've been on the legal aid board of trustees. I invite all of you to take a look at my campaign website where you can learn more about me as a candidate and my bar and community service. You can also see my endorsements. I'm very proud to have been endorsed by the Orlando Sentinel editorial board by former Chief Judge Frederick Lawden, 16 past presidents of the Orange County Bar Association. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about my candidacy.
Okay.
More. Thank you, Judge LeBlanc.
All right, thank you. Last but not least, Mark Van Valkenburg, tell us about yourself, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks first to Judge LeBlanc and to the League for hosting this forum. It's difficult to get a whole resume in 2 minutes, so I wanted to focus on one aspect of my resume. I began working with the League on the issue of juvenile civil citations and been a member of the League for a number of years, and currently volunteer with the Transportation Committee under the guidance of shoot, now I just forgot her name, but Ms. Seymour, I believe it is. Many people in groups ask why I'm running for judge. And I think the answer is, why are we all members of the League? Because we want to make a beneficial impact on our community. Service and community have been ingrained in me since I was a child. And just a couple of examples. My grandfather lived here. He was a doctor, Dr. Robert Zellner in Orlando. But he was also in the Naval Reserves. He was the chair of the Orlando Board of Health and director of the Orlando Rotary Club. My mother was the board of her local Red Cross, the YWCA board, and refugee coordinator for her church diocese. For myself, I'm not going to list every organization with which I've been involved, but have early memories of believe it or not, building an outhouse on a service project up in the Appalachian Appalachian Mountains. When my wife and I moved back to Florida 25 years ago, we'll be married for 30 years in another month or two. This was the third city in which we worked for Habitat for Humanity. When COVID-19 hit, I was engaged in managing my practice and running for this office, but it was impossible not to look around and see that there was a great need in the community. And so I began working with food drives, collecting food, and then delivering it to local food bank, and also delivering for Meals on Wheels. So as an attorney with 25 years of experience, I see becoming a judge as the ultimate opportunity to use my training and experience to give back to our community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, I've got some questions that we as a committee with the league formulated. I've also got a few questions that have been put forward by the audience. Someone asked to explain the groups. I'm just going to take a minute to explain what the group numbers mean. The group number is simply the judicial spot that was created by the legislature. So group 1 was the very first judgeship created in Central Florida 100 years ago. Group 39 was the 39th Circuit Judge spot created by the legislature. And we currently have 44 sitting circuit judges. So it would go from group 1 to group 44. As someone retires, then that group seat becomes empty. The group number never changes, so you always know how many circuit judges there are. Anyway, that's a brief explanation. I'm going to ask questions in the reverse order. So Mark Van Valkenburg, I'm going to start with you. Somebody in the audience wanted to know, in light of COVID-19, do you support technology being advanced in the courtroom for virtual appearances for lawyers when they request it, other than criminal, of course?
Yes, definitely. I think that that's been found. Probably you're better to answer the question than I am, but from the lawyers that I've talked to, from the judges that I've talked to, I've found I've heard that is very effective. It saves time and money for everyone. I think that your qualification of when it's by agreement is a good one, but I think more importantly, it's that we have to be sure that not only the lawyers but the clients have access to the technology, and that in circumstances where things like credibility need to be weighed, that we're not pushing people into video conferences or video hearings in which things like that really need to be judged.
And Mark, can also someone asked, can you tell us, is there a particular division you would like to be assigned to in the circuit court based on your experience as an attorney?
Actually, no. My hope would be that in my time as a judge, I'd get a chance to experience all of them. I have obviously worked as a civil trial lawyer for 25 years. I've been a mediator, but I've also had the opportunity in that 25 years to train to be a certified family law mediator, and I conduct family law mediations for the Legal Aid Society. And I served for 4 years as the general counsel for Bob Wesley, the public defender. So I got an opportunity to learn a lot about criminal law and the juvenile law there, and see a lot of the judges and learn from them.
All right, thank you very much. Vincent Falcone, question. In light of Black Lives Matter, do you understand the racial and systemic bias being challenged in the courts today? And can you pledge as a candidate to challenge the racial bias in our courts?
Absolutely. One thing that I am most committed to in this campaign is ensuring equal access to justice in court. And I think that, our local judiciary and statewide, we've done a good job of trying to confront the problem, but it's still there. And even beyond some of the issues associated with the Black Lives Matter movement, I think that we as a judiciary need to recognize that in Central Florida in particular, there's a problem with our service-based economy where a lot of our litigants here, it's not just that they have to stretch to afford legal counsel or that it's a burden to them. It's just something that's not possible given their means. So in civil cases in particular, family law cases, you've got a lot of unrepresented parties simply because they don't have the means for representation. And I think that we as a community and a judiciary need to take care to ensure that case outcomes aren't affected by that disparity. When you have an unrepresented party, they may not understand the proper procedure. They may not understand what a legal argument is as opposed to a practical argument. And I think that situation, ensuring that all of our citizens have the same access to justice regardless of means, race, ethnicity, gender, anything else, that everybody has the same access to justice. That's something our court system's been working at. Partnerships with local pro bono organizations help with that. Taking time to explain the process to unrepresented litigants can help, but that's something that I'm very committed to.
Do you believe courts can address societal issues while maintaining neutrality?
I think they can. I think it's a big problem with no simple solutions. I think it's something that we need to work at. You know, I think pro bono programs can help with it. One thing I've worked on in the Federal Bar Association is a system in the federal courts where judges will identify unrepresented litigants who are in need of or could be benefited by private counsel on the one hand, and law firms on the other hand that have a need for getting their young lawyers courtroom experience.
Okay.
And the program matches those up. I think those kind of programs help. I think you need to work at it, but there are no simple solutions.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have Group 34. Again, it's Mike Kranick and Amrita Singh. Ms. Singh, let me start with you. Is there a particular division that you would prefer to be assigned to based on your experience as a lawyer?
I wouldn't say that there's one particular division that I prefer. I would say that I'm most familiar with civil litigation, as that's my background, but I am very much looking forward to being placed in really any of the divisions and giving the opportunity to, you know, explore those divisions. And I'm very comfortable with learning new things. So I think that that's a realm that I would be easily available to do.
Can you describe a case or a legal issue on which you worked, perhaps that you're particularly proud of and which might be reflective of your legal ability?
Yeah, sure. I primarily practiced civil litigation and primarily in real estate litigation. So I would say cases such as eviction cases are things that I've handled quite a bit of. And those cases are, you know, they vary by nature. They really are sometimes pretty complex when we're dealing with commercial real estate cases. So dealing with a lot of different issues and contracts are things that I'm very familiar with and very comfortable dealing with.
Great, thank you very much. Judge Kranick, we've got a couple of minutes. What experience in your lifetime or perhaps your legal career caused you to want to be a judge?
Absolutely. Serving the local youth in the law schools. When I was in law school, I was part of their mock trial program, and it had a huge impact on me, seeing the time, energy, and effort dedicated by lawyers who would give 40 hours a week of their time away from their families, away from their jobs, teaching students like myself to become trial lawyers. And that turned my heart on to serving. Since I graduated and since 2008, I've been coaching and educating with that program. I've been coaching almost every semester since 2008. Since 2012, I was tasked with operating the program. I have about 45 to 50 students that I teach every year on the basics of trial advocacy. I teach a 6-week course over the summer on how to become a trial advocate, from what to wear, where to stand, how to argue, and how to create all your work product, and know the professional responsibilities that you have as a lawyer, the duties of candor and the duties of professionalism. In my personal life, I have 2 small children. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, or almost a 5-year-old. It's like 4 3/4. And being able to show them at a young age that there are better things in this world for you to dedicate your life to, that there are higher callings that you can be a part of, and being able to have that impact on my own 2 children this early in their life to show service above self is important to me. My wife's an educator. She's been an educator for 15 years. So it's almost a family of service and education and teaching that we have here at the Kranick household.
Well, I'm curious, was there a particular reason why you chose to be a circuit judge over a county judge?
The complexity in my background. I spent over a decade as a complex business litigation attorney and construction litigation attorney. And those cases were like hydras with different heads, counterclaims, cross claims, 15, 20 different defendants. And that level of complexity really turned me on to handling the more complex issues that you're going to handle in the circuit court level.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All right, going to Group 21, Judge Alan Apt and Christy Collins. Ms. Collins, let me ask you a question. While understanding that you cannot express a personal opinion how you might rule on any particular case, knowing you are allowed to express some personal opinion, do you have a position for or against the death penalty? And if you were against the death penalty personally, do you understand you could be called nevertheless to impose it one day?
Yes. The role as a judge is to uphold the law. And if the law in our state is that we impose the death penalty, that's what I'd be doing. I think that while our personal convictions definitely guide who we are and the decisions we make, I think there is a degree of separation that needs to happen when you're a judge. We may not necessarily personally agree with all the things that we have to do, but the role of a judge is to uphold the law, and that's what I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, in light of Black Lives Matter, what do you think you can do towards solutions to eradicating injustice and ensuring equality for everyone?
I just think I do what we are charged to do if I am elected judge, just promote fairness and equity. There shouldn't be inequalities in sentences. There shouldn't be huge disparities in what one race receives for the same infraction as opposed to another race. And I think it's just common sense, and I just think it's decency and fairness. And our system should revolve around fairness. It shouldn't be, race should not be a factor in what sentence someone receives, whether or not they get a certain degree of leniency by the court, how I would conduct the way the hearing is run. Their race shouldn't play a part in it at all. And I think if everyone conducts themselves in that way, we would make some headway in eliminating this implicit bias.
All right, thank you very much. Let me go to Judge Abb. Judge Abb, let me ask you the same question along those lines. Do you, as a candidate, pledge, or as a judge, to challenge the racial bias that appears to exist in our courts?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I'm sitting on the bench, I have to think about the perception of fairness and actual fairness. Because when people come in front of us every single day, they have issues. It's an adversarial system. Each side has a position. There's going to be winners and losers. Generally there's losers and losers because everyone does not get exactly what they want. So every single day for my 18 years, I have gone through this process to think about the perception of fairness and how do we deal with the perception of fairness. I know that people are falsely arrested. I know that people make things up about other individuals. I make a concerted effort in every single case that comes before me that when the individuals and the lawyers are in front of me, I explain the facts as I see it. I explain the rules. I explain the law so that when people are finished with that hearing, they have a prompt ruling that is based upon the facts and the law. And I am not a judge that just says granted or denied and people just walk out. I explain everything to them. This is part about how a judge becomes a good, balanced judge. It's honesty and the experience.
Hey, I'm curious, what are some of the personal challenges that you've had being a judge?
Personal challenges as being a judge is you have to separate yourself from your friends, because generally most of us have lawyers as friends, and we have to understand that we cannot discuss with our friends cases. We can't give them legal advice, things of that nature. So it's a little bit of stepping back from being a general person. So those are the challenges as a judge.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Lastly, we're going back to Group 1, Rhiannon Arnold and Michaela Nix. Ms. Nix, let me ask you this. Have you supported LGBTQ Latinx awareness? Are you prepared to deal with that in your judicial role, depending on which division you might be assigned to?
Well, definitely. Just like any community, everyone's important. And I grew up my whole life as an African American. I've had to make really big segues on many items. And so I think that the LGBTQ community, the African American community, and the Hispanic community, and anyone should be getting the same advocacy, the same fairness, the same honesty that everyone gets. It should not be a division. And I believe that if we all I don't know people. I mean, I don't know the right people. I just know people. And so when we live like that, I think that it makes a better world for everyone. And then we stop putting these little blocks onto people and these little labels, and just acknowledging that everyone is a person and a human being. I think that the court system would be better, and just in general, our nation would
I'm curious, I don't know how much criminal you've practiced, but regarding sentencing guidelines, are you in favor of the minimum mandatories for certain offenses that are currently in place? Do you have any opinion on it?
So being a judge, as we've said in some of these interviews, you don't necessarily, your opinion doesn't really matter. So I think it's something that we definitely should look into. I think there's some disparities when you talk about different people receiving different sentences. Mandatory sentencing is something that the legislative branch has done, and we have 3 branches of government for a reason. And so my job is to follow the law and not make the law, but I definitely can see how there are issues with sentencing. Those are some of the things that the criminal justice reform are taking looks at. That is some things that we are studying. And to say that there's just, nothing to look at or there is no problems, I think would be a misunderstatement. But to say that I can necessarily fix certain things would be bringing me to a separate branch of government that I will not be in.
So you'd agree that it's a legislative issue to create the sentencing guidelines and not a judicial role? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Lastly, but not least, as I said to Mr. Van Valkenburg at the beginning, Rhiannon Arnold, what do you perceive as a great challenge to the role of being a judge, perhaps a personal challenge for you?
I think that one of the most difficult challenges for me is going to be leaving behind the advocation and the advocacy skills of being a trial lawyer and placing myself in a position of just calling balls and strikes.
They come in handy.
Yes, leaving that position of being a trial attorney, which I've been for the last 15 years, and taking that role from a judicial position of not picking sides and not wanting to get in the middle of the fight and just sitting and watching the whole game from up above. And like I said, just calling balls and strikes. I think that'll be something that will be a unique perspective for me, to change where I'm sitting and look at a new perspective. But I'm excited for that role. I think that I'm ready and I'm excited for it.
And do you think that you will be able to do something towards eradicating injustice and ensuring equality in your role as a judge?
I do, Judge LeBlanc. I have a unique perspective because I've lived my entire life being white, being Caucasian. And in my household, my husband's African American. I'm raising 2 biracial children. And every single day, my life and my perspective of the world is seen through different lenses. So I get to see the world in a very unique perspective. I get to see it from my eyes. I get to see it from the eyes of being a mother now of biracial children. I think of my children as biracial, but unfortunately there's a lot of people in the world that only think of my children as being African American. And so I have to balance those 2 things. I see my husband in the injustices that he has to experience on a daily basis. And I think that I bring a unique perspective to the bench. Just because I don't look like everyone that comes before me doesn't mean that I can't see the things that they've been through and experience some of the things that they have seen, some of the things that they go through. And so I have a unique perspective that I'm going to be able to bring to the bench, and I'm very excited about being able to do that.
All right, well, this has been fascinating. You've all got great perspectives on your lives, both your personal life and your professional life. We're going to give everyone about 90 seconds or maybe a minute. I can't remember what the program said, but we're going to give everyone at least a minute to say goodbye, to say whatever it is. One last thing. Let's see. Out of deference, I'm going to start with our sitting judges. So we'll start with Group 21, Alan Apt. Turn your microphone on.
Yeah. Thank you, Judge LeBlanc, for hosting this webinar, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us. This is an incredibly important opportunity for everyone in the community and the League to learn about all of us. And experience matters. The pandemic is still raging in this country. It is raging in Florida, and the access to the courthouse has been limited. We have fallen from phase 2 back into phase 1. The caseloads are backing up, civil, criminal, family. When we come out of this pandemic, it's going to be the floodgates of cases. and experience matters. And I am the most qualified individual inside and outside the courtroom to go through those challenges. Please vote for me on Tuesday, August 18th. Thank you, everyone.
All right, and Judge Kranek, we'll go to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again for providing all of us the opportunity to meet with all of you this afternoon. The community is going to need qualified, hardworking, prepared judges as we navigate our way through the COVID pandemic. It has had a profound impact not only on our community locally, on the statewide, national levels, but also in our court system. As Judge Apt alluded to, we're back to phase one, which is limited access to the courthouse. It's important that as we make our way through this COVID pandemic and make our way out of the hole that we are in back to normalcy, that the community has prepared, hardworking, qualified judges to continue to serve. My background as an educator, my background as a teacher, my background in over a decade of handling very complex business cases and complex construction cases are why I'm the candidate. My core values of being prepared, working hard, and treating everyone fairly, the same values I teach my law students every semester at the law school or what I use every day as a member of our judiciary. I'm humbly asking for your vote on or before August 18th to keep Judge Mike Kranek. Thank you again for the opportunity and your time.
All right, and before we go on, somebody in the chat room had asked, are all 8 people running against each other? So let me just explain. Rhiannon Arnold and Michaela Nix are candidates against each other. Alan Apt and Christy Collins are candidates in Group 21. Mike Kranek and Amrita Singh are candidates in Group 34, and Vincent Falcone and Mark Van Valkenburg are candidates in Group 39. So it's not all 8 running against each other. There's 4 judgeships available and 2 candidates running for each of the 4 spots. Because there's not a third, somebody will win the majority. So that will be decided in the primary in August. All right, Christy Collins, let's hear a farewell from you.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us today. And thank you, Judge LeBlanc, for being a great host. I just want to say to the voters that on August 18th, you get to make the decision to vote for people who will have say-so over your life, in some cases, and your livelihoods. You definitely want to think carefully about that as maybe one of the most important decisions of your life. You definitely want somebody in the seat who has a servant's heart. As a minister, I am constantly in the role of servant, and that's exactly what I believe that our judges should be. Not above the litigants, not above the people who work in the courtroom, not above the attorneys, but actually a servant to serve our community and our justice system. If I'm elected, I may not agree with you, I may not rule in your favor, but I'll hear you, I'll see you. I would have heard your argument, you will feel respected, you will feel heard. So on August 18th, please consider who you're voting for. Make sure you have someone with a servant's heart who is truly there to serve the community and who has done so.
Thank you very much. Group 34, we heard from Judge Kranek. Amrita Singh, turn on your microphone.
Thank you, Judge LeBlanc, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for this opportunity and for all attending virtually. I know it's difficult to choose a judge, but we have to keep in mind that this seat belongs to the people. And that's why the system's made to hold elections for judicial seats every 6 years, so that the community can decide who makes critical decisions in their lives. That's why I feel I'm best suited for the seat. I'm someone who's going to reflect our unique and diverse community here in Central Florida. I'll bring a unique background and personal and professional experience to the bench. I'm innovative, and I'll ensure efficiency in the courtroom. Please join my campaign by visiting vote-sing.com, where you can find out about me, reach out, and get my social media links where you can follow me there as well. I ask for your voice of support to share my candidacy and my message, and for your vote. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Let's go back to Group 1. Michaela Nix, turn on your microphone and tell us, share us your last thoughts.
Well, on August 18th, 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified. And I am super excited on August 18th, 2020. You will be able to vote for a very important election. This election matters. Your judges are the people who you're going to see day in and day out. They make a huge impact. Character. is important. Go to nix2020.com, research, learn about me, but more importantly, just vote. People have died to vote. People have not been able to. They've had amendments to vote. As an African-American woman, I am super excited to be in this election, but more importantly, I am more excited about the qualifications of community service that I've done over the last 20 years in the Orange and Osceola area. I am ready to serve, I am qualified, and we definitely need diversity on this bench. Please vote Michaela Nix on August 18th, 2020. Let's make history like the ratification on August 18th, 1920. Vote Michaela Nix. Thank you very much for the Women of League of Voters, and thank you very much to our amazing moderator, Judge LeBlanc. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you very much. Ms. Arnold.
Thank you, Judge LeBlanc. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having us here today. I am so excited for August 18th and the election that is before us. I am the most experienced candidate with 15 years of experience in both criminal and civil practice, with over 50 jury trials, 20 bench trials, and thousands of hearings underneath my belt. I'm the candidate for you. I bring diversity to the bench. I bring a different set of eyes to the bench. I bring so many different things with me when I'm ready from day one. I bring experience with me, and I am ready to serve from day one. I look forward to having your vote. Remember on August 18th to vote Arnold for judge. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, finally back to group 39, Mark Van Valkenburg. Turn your microphone on. There you go.
Thank you. First, I apologize to my boss on the transportation committee, whose name I figured out, Theo Webster. I was talking about a friend, or about a friend, Thad Seymour, this morning, and Theo and Thad got mixed. But I appreciate Judge LeBlanc. I appreciate the league for hosting here. I appreciate everybody who's attending. I noticed, I looked down once and there's over 100 people on the call, and that's great. I hope that you got a little bit of a sense of who I am as a person. I also strongly encourage you to visit my website. I'll put it on the chat room and review my qualifications. I think you'll see that I have not only 25 years of experience, but a great breadth of experience covering civil, family, criminal, and juvenile law. You'll see that I have jury trial experience in state and federal court. You'll see that I've been 80 rated by my peers, which is the highest rating given by the organization Martindale-Hubbell. And I think you'll see that I have a demonstrated commitment, not just to legal organizations, but also to the greater community. Finally, I invite you to reach out and talk to me. My email address is on my website. I'll respond to questions. I'm happy to set up a telephone call if you'd like to do that. Or a Zoom call if we can figure out how to do it. I thank you again to everybody. I hope again that you'll check out my website, and I ask for your vote